Hello and welcome to the channel on History and Secrets. Today we will be diving into what caused the U.S. Revolution War and how it changed American history. The American Revolution was a pivotal moment in history, marking the birth of a nation and the emergence of a unique American identity. To understand the causes of this monumental conflict, we must first look at the historical context of the 18th century. The colonies were growing increasingly frustrated with British rule, particularly due to taxation without representation, restrictive trade policies, and a lack of autonomy. Events like the Boston Tea Party and the Intolerable Acts fueled the fire of rebellion, leading to a collective desire for independence among the colonists. Understanding these causes is not just about looking back at history, it has significant implications for our society today. The principles that emerged from the Revolution, liberty, equality, and self-governance, continue to resonate in contemporary discussions about democracy and civil rights. By examining the motivations behind the revolution, we can better appreciate the ongoing struggles for justice and representation in our own time. Moreover, the transformative effects of the revolution on American identity cannot be overstated. It fostered a sense of unity among diverse colonies and laid the groundwork for a nation built on shared ideals. As we explore the causes of the American Revolution, we uncover the roots of what it means to be American, and how those ideals continue to shape our society today. The American colonies were rife with grievances against British rule, which ultimately fueled their desire for independence. One of the most significant acts that sparked discontent was the Stamp Act of 1765. This legislation imposed a direct tax on a wide array of printed materials, from newspapers to legal documents, igniting outrage among colonists who felt it violated their rights. The Townshend Acts of 1767 further exacerbated tensions by imposing taxes on everyday items like glass, tea, and paper, leading to widespread protests and boycotts. At the heart of these grievances was the rallying cry of no taxation without representation. Colonists believed it was unjust to be taxed by a government in which they had no voice. This sentiment resonated deeply, uniting people across the colonies in their fight against perceived tyranny. The slogan became a powerful symbol of their struggle for rights and self-governance. As British policies grew increasingly oppressive, a sense of unity began to emerge among the colonies. Groups like the Sons of Liberty and the Committees of Correspondence were formed to coordinate resistance efforts and share information. This growing solidarity laid the groundwork for collective action, ultimately leading to the formation of the Continental Congress and the push for independence. The grievances against British rule not only highlighted the colonists' frustrations but also fostered a shared identity that would be crucial in the fight for freedom. The Enlightenment was a transformative intellectual movement that profoundly influenced revolutionary thought in the American colonies. Key figures like John Locke emerged during this period, advocating for ideas that would shape the very foundation of modern democracy. Locke's theories on government emphasized the importance of natural rights, life, liberty, and property, and the belief that governments derive their power from the consent of the governed. His assertion that individuals have the right to overthrow a government that fails to protect these rights resonated deeply with colonists who felt oppressed by British rule. These Enlightenment ideas inspired many colonists to seek independence, as they began to view their struggle not just as a fight against taxation, but as a quest for fundamental human rights. The notion that individuals could challenge authority and demand a government that reflected their will became a rallying cry for revolutionaries. Moreover, the principles of the Enlightenment are intricately woven into the foundational values of the United States. Concepts such as equality, individual rights, and the social contract are enshrined in key documents like the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. By embracing these Enlightenment philosophies, the American Revolution not only sought to break free from British control, but also aimed to establish a new nation grounded in the ideals of liberty and justice for all. Several significant events escalated tensions between Britain and the American colonies, ultimately paving the way for revolution. One of the most notorious incidents was the Boston Massacre in 1770, where British soldiers opened fire on a crowd of colonists protesting against British policies. This tragic event resulted in the deaths of 5 colonists and was widely publicized by revolutionary leaders like Paul Revere and Samuel Adams. The Boston Massacre galvanized public opinion against British rule, portraying the British as tyrants willing to use violence against their own subjects. Another pivotal moment was the Boston Tea Party in 1773, where colonists, frustrated by the Tea Act that granted the British East India Company a monopoly on tea sales, disguised themselves as Native Americans and dumped an entire shipment of tea into Boston Harbor. This bold act of defiance not only demonstrated the colonists' resistance to taxation without representation but also united various factions within the colonies against a common enemy. These events significantly impacted the formation of revolutionary groups. In response to the Boston Massacre, organizations like the Sons of Liberty gained momentum, rallying support for the cause of independence. The Boston Tea Party led to the Intolerable Acts, further uniting the colonies in their opposition to British oppression. Together, these key events ignited a revolutionary spirit that would ultimately culminate in the fight for American independence. The Declaration of Independence, adopted on July 4, 1776, stands as a cornerstone of American democracy and a pivotal document in the Revolution. Authored primarily by Thomas Jefferson, the Declaration articulates key ideas about individual rights and government. It famously asserts that all men are created equal and endowed with unalienable rights including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These principles not only justified the colonies' break from British rule, but also laid the philosophical groundwork for a new nation. By formally declaring the colonies' intent to separate from Britain, the Declaration served as a bold statement of independence. It outlined the grievances against King George III, illustrating the colonists' frustrations and their desire for self-governance. This act of defiance galvanized support for the revolutionary cause, uniting the colonies in their quest for freedom. The lasting impact of the Declaration of Independence extends far beyond the American Revolution. It has inspired countless movements for freedom and democracy around the world, serving as a model for other nations seeking to assert their rights against oppressive regimes. The ideals enshrined in the document continue to resonate today, reminding us of the ongoing struggle for equality and justice. In essence, the Declaration not only marked the birth of the United States but also became a beacon of hope for those fighting for their own rights and liberties globally. The Revolutionary War, fought from 1775 to 1783, was a defining conflict that led to the establishment of the United States as an independent nation. The war began with the battles of Lexington and Concord in April 1775, where colonial militias faced British troops in a confrontation that ignited the revolutionary spirit. These early skirmishes demonstrated the colonists' determination to resist British oppression and marked the start of armed conflict. One of the turning points of the war was the Battle of Saratoga in 1777, which resulted in a decisive American victory. This victory not only boosted morale, but also convinced France to formally ally with the American cause. French support proved crucial, providing the Continental Army with much-needed supplies, troops, and naval assistance, which significantly bolstered the American fight for independence. Despite their determination, the Continental Army faced numerous challenges throughout the war, including supply shortages, harsh winters, and a lack of training. The winter at Valley Forge in 1777 to 1778 was particularly grueling, yet it showcased the resilience and commitment of the soldiers. Under the leadership of General George Washington, the Army endured these hardships, emerging stronger and more unified. The combination of strategic victories, foreign support, and the unwavering spirit of the Continental Army ultimately led to the successful conclusion of the war and the birth of a new nation. The American Revolution brought about profound transformations in both society and governance. One of the most significant changes was the establishment of a new government, culminating in the drafting of the Constitution in 1787. This document laid the foundation for a federal system that balanced power between the national and state governments, incorporating principles such as checks and balances and the separation of powers. The Bill of Rights, added in 1791, further ensured the protection of individual liberties, reflecting the revolutionary ideals of freedom and democracy. Social structures also underwent notable changes as a result of the revolution. The role of women began to evolve as they took on new responsibilities during the war and became more vocal in advocating for their rights. Figures like Abigail Adams famously urged for women's inclusion in the new nation's governance. However, while some progress was made, the status of enslaved people remained largely unchanged, with slavery continuing to be a contentious issue that would eventually lead to further conflict. Additionally, the revolution fostered a sense of American nationalism and identity. The shared struggle for independence united diverse groups and instilled a sense of pride in being American. This newfound identity emphasized values such as liberty, equality, and self-governance, shaping the nation's character and influencing its future trajectory. The post-revolutionary period marked the beginning of a unique American identity that would continue to evolve over the years. In summary, the causes of the U.S. Revolution were deeply rooted in colonial grievances against British rule, the influence of Enlightenment ideas, and significant events that escalated tensions. From the oppressive taxation exemplified by the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts to the galvanizing moments of the Boston Massacre and the Boston Tea Party, these factors collectively fueled the desire for independence. The Declaration of Independence articulated the colony's intent to break free, while the Revolutionary War showcased the resilience of the Continental Army and the support of foreign allies like France. Ultimately, the revolution transformed American society and governance, laying the groundwork for a new nation founded on principles of liberty and democracy. As we reflect on these pivotal historical events, it's essential to recognize their lasting impact on our identity as Americans, and the ongoing struggles for freedom and equality around the world. Understanding our past helps us appreciate the values we hold today. If you enjoyed this exploration of the American Revolution and its significance, we invite you to subscribe to our channel for more historical insights. Don't forget to like this video and share it with friends who might also be interested in learning about our nation's history. Your engagement helps us continue to bring you valuable content.